1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
In an interview with the writer of *Sapiens*, Yuval Noah Harari said, "Imagine a hypothetical scenario where aliens visited Earth 100,000 years ago and bet on which species would dominate the planet in the future. While many scientific theories would suggest that intelligent and cooperative animals, like dolphins or huge elephants, would win, the aliens would be surprised to see humans in control of the planet upon their return. Humans have made remarkable advancements over time and have been able to dominate the Earth in every possible way, on land, in sea, in air, and even in space. But how did this domination come to be? How did we dominate with our lousy score? This what we'll know in this important episode." According to the historian Paul Ward, humans started moving from one country to another with the power of a horse. Today, we travel to planets using rockets that have 160 million horsepower. The question of human domination on Earth is an important one that researchers have been trying to answer for years. One study conducted by the University of California found that humans were exclusively in Africa around 200,000 years ago. However, 100,000 years later, humans started migrating to Asia, Europe, and other parts of the world. Researchers found that the genetic variety among humans was limited compared to other species, indicating that humans descended from a small group of people, which may not have exceeded 20,000. The group's migration was the most important factor that saved humanity from extinction. These humans who decided to migrate and discover the world were like travel bloggers who made humanity come to existence. The question here is, what made individuals migrate from their groups, taking such a significant risk? To answer this question, researchers studied the genetic structure of those who stayed in their ancestors' land and those whose ancestors lived in other lands. They found that the only difference between the two groups was in the genes responsible for the secretion and reception of dopamine hormone, which was 69% higher in those whose ancestors migrated. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays an essential role in human behavior, and its secretion and reception were responsible for the motivation that drove our ancestors to migrate and endure travel hardships. In fact, dopamine played a significant role in saving millions of lives and starting the human journey to dominate the Earth. Although dopamine represents only 0.005% of the brain cells, it affects human behavior more than one would expect, and it intervenes in fateful decisions such as migration. Dopamine represents the economy of our bodies, as it creates the motivation and drive that we need to achieve our goals. Whether they involve money or other things, it is a system tool that humans use to see the world, and it is responsible for the culture, scientific, historical, and economic achievements of humanity. The human brain deals with the world into parts, the peripersonal and the extrapersonal. The peripersonal is everything within our reach, like our mug of Nescafe, bed, or bathroom, which we don't need to plan for or put in any effort. These things are dealt with by hormones like oxytocin, which provides us with satisfaction and happiness. On the other hand, the extrapersonal deals with the things we desire, but we do not yet have. This is where dopamine comes into play, as it motivates us to achieve our goals and desires. Therefore, the answer to the question of how humans came to dominate the Earth lies in the secretion and reception of dopamine hormone, which has motivated humans to take risks and achieve their goals. Dopamine gave us enough stimulation to invent. But can dopamine give us enough intelligence to invent? August Kekulé, a chemist, once discovered the benzene ring by thinking creatively and paying attention to details that may seem normal. Kekulé thought of all possible ways in which 6 hydrogen atoms can link with 6 carbon atoms to no avail. He then decided to take a nap, and it was during his sleep that everything worked out. In his dream, the atoms moved like snakes until he saw a snake eating its tail, which inspired him to come up with the unique shape of the benzene molecule in the shape of a circle or a snake eating its tail. According to Daniel Lieberman, when we engage in creative thinking, we automatically think of something that doesn't exist, whether it's an invention or a new way to do a task. This is because we think of the future, something out of our reach, which is represented in chemistry by the devious hormone dopamine. When reality retreats, dopamine is activated and starts to create new links between the elements of reality, leading us to see reality with new perspectives. Scientists and creators are required to do this process consciously, by paying attention to details that may seem normal and trying to originate creative links between them. This is what the scientist, John Nash, who is the backstory of A Beautiful Mind, meant when he said,
"Terrified, mortified, petrified, stupefied by you."
When asked how a scientist can garner a Nobel Prize in mathematics while being schizophrenic, he said that his ingenuity and madness come from the same place. Dopamine is a hormone that not only stimulates us to plan for the future, but also makes inventions of creative links that are hard to think of in reality. In the 1960s, a group of doctors thought, why wait for dopamine to be naturally secreted? Why not produce dopamine in larger amounts and pump it into the brain ourselves to be all happy and stimulated? This resulted in a product called amphetamine, which was marketed to women at pharmacies as a drug that not only helps them do housework, but also makes them happy while doing it, and helps with weight loss. Over 2 billion pills were consumed annually, leading to addiction, psychosis, brain strokes, and eventual withdrawal from the market. Alan Lesher, a scientist, said that when a drug enters the dopamine circuit, it hijacks it and hacks all the dopamine systems for itself, resulting in confusion and the brain suggesting drugs as the perfect solution for any situation or need. Addiction recovery requires us to restart the dopamine system altogether and have it function against itself. Half of the system asks for drugs all the time, while the other half blocks all the plans to get drugs. Scientists consider wrecking the dopamine system with addiction as the hardest disease, because any patient definitely wants to recover, but the addict wants a dose and does not care about recovery. We're stopping here today because I don't want to extend the episode for you. We will continue in the second and last part after today's, how to detox and control dopamine or drugs and the switch to oxytocin, as well how to maintain romantic relationships long term. Subscribe to don't miss. See you.